Opened the front door and froze. My suitcases were packed. A note sat on top. I know everything. My husband's car was gone. My kids' rooms were empty, and the house felt like a stranger's. Then my phone buzzed. A video attachment from him. I pressed play, and my stomach dropped. I never thought I'd be writing this, but here I am. I need to get this off my chest. I'm a 38-year-old woman living in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas. My husband, Mark, and I had been married for 12 years. We have 2 kids, Mia, 10, and Lucas, 7. I work as a project manager for a tech company, which often requires me to travel. Mark is a high school teacher. Our life was, by all appearances, normal. Last week, I returned from a 5-day business trip to San Francisco. The trip had been planned for months, and Mark was supportive, as always. We talked every night, and he sent me pictures of the kids doing their homework, playing in the yard, and even making dinner. Everything seemed fine. When my flight landed, I texted Mark to let him know I was on my way home. No response. I figured he was busy with the kids or maybe had fallen asleep. It was late. I arrived home around 11 p.m. The house was dark, which was unusual. Mark usually left the porch light on for me. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The living room was eerily clean. Too clean. My suitcases were lined up by the door, packed. On top of them was a note in Mark's handwriting. I know everything. I stood there, frozen. My heart pounded in my chest. I called out, Mark? Mia? Lucas? Silence. I ran upstairs to the kids' rooms. Empty. Their clothes, toys, everything was gone. Our bedroom was the same. Mark's clothes were missing, and the closet was half empty. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to process what was happening. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Mark with a video attachment. I hesitated, then pressed play. Mark appeared on the screen, sitting at our kitchen table. His face was expressionless. Anna, he began, I found out about your affair. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I found the messages between you and Daniel, he continued. The late-night texts, the hotel bookings, the photos. I trusted you, and you betrayed me. Tears streamed down my face. Daniel was a colleague from work. We had grown close over the past year, and one thing led to another. I never intended for it to go this far. I've taken the kids to my parents' place in Austin, Mark said. They deserve better. I deserve better. The video ended. I sat there numb. The weight of my actions crushed me. I had destroyed my family. Over the next few days, I tried reaching out to Mark. Calls went unanswered, messages left unread. I even drove to Austin, but his parents refused to let me in. I resigned from my job, unable to face Daniel or anyone else. The walls of our home, once filled with love and laughter, now echoed with silence and regret. I sought therapy, trying to understand why I did what I did. The sessions were painful but necessary. I had to confront my insecurities, my need for validation, and the consequences of my choices. Months passed. I wrote letters to Mark and the kids, pouring out my remorse and love. I sent gifts for Mia and Lucas on their birthdays, hoping they'd know I still cared. Eventually, Mark agreed to meet. We sat in a cafe in Dallas, the air thick with tension. I'm not here to reconcile, he said. But for the kids' sake, we need to find a way to co-parent. I nodded, grateful for the opportunity. We established a visitation schedule. The first time I saw Mia and Lucas again, they were hesitant, but over time, we rebuilt our bond. Mark and I remained civil, focusing on our children's well-being. He moved on, finding someone new. I remained single, dedicating my time to being the best mother I could be. It's been 3 years since that fateful day. The pain hasn't completely faded, but it's no longer all-consuming. I share my story not for sympathy, but as a cautionary tale. Infidelity doesn't just break hearts, it shatters lives. If you're unhappy in your relationship, speak up. Seek counseling. Communicate. Don't make the mistake I did. Because sometimes, the damage is irreversible. After that meeting with Mark at the cafe, I thought the worst was behind me. We had set up a routine. Every other weekend, I'd drive to Austin to see the kids. They were still guarded, especially Mia. She looked at me like a stranger, and that hurt more than anything. Lucas was softer, always the one to hug me first, but I could still see the confusion in his eyes. Things started to feel somewhat stable again. I picked up a part-time remote job, enough to keep me busy, but still have time for therapy and the kids. I wasn't thriving, but I was surviving. Then, one night, I got an email. The subject line just said, "You don't know the whole story." There was no name, just an attachment. Another video. For a second, I thought it was spam, but something told me to open it. And when I did, I swear I stopped breathing. The video showed Mark, but it wasn't recent. I could tell it was from the week I was in San Francisco. The timestamp confirmed it. He wasn't home. He wasn't with the kids. He was at a hotel. Not with our children, but with a woman. They kissed in the hallway, laughing, arms all over each other. The camera angle made it clear someone had been following him. The video cut just as they entered the hotel room. My hands shook. My throat burned. I replayed it 5 times. It felt like a joke, some cruel prank. But it wasn't. It was real. Mark had cheated too. Suddenly, everything I thought I knew felt warped. I was the one who messed up, yes. But he had painted himself as the victim so cleanly. And the timing, the week of my trip, the same week he claimed to have found out about me? I sat in my living room, lights off, laptop glowing on the coffee table, and tried to think. Who sent this? How did they get my email? Why now? I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I needed more answers. The next weekend, when I picked up the kids, I watched Mark carefully. He was polite, distant as usual. But now I was looking through a different lens. His perfect, wounded act didn't sit right anymore. I tried casually asking about that week, testing if he'd lie. He stuck to the same story. So I made a choice. I hired a private investigator. It felt insane, but I needed to know if there was more. And there was. 2 weeks later, I got the report. Mark had been seeing that woman, her name was Rachel, for over a year. She was a counselor at the school he taught at. Divorced, no kids. They go on weekend conferences together, sometimes take sick days at the same time. He'd been lying just as long as I had. But here's the kicker, he knew about my affair for months before confronting me. He waited. He planned it. He used my trip as an excuse to make his move, pack up the kids, record the video, play the part of the heartbroken father. He had already been cheating, and instead of coming clean or dealing with our problems, he weaponized my mistake. I felt sick. I had destroyed my family, yes. But he wasn't innocent. He had just been better at hiding it. Now I didn't know what to do. If I exposed him, it would tear apart everything we had slowly been rebuilding with the kids. They didn't need more drama, more lies. But how could I keep pretending? The truth was heavier now. Because it wasn't just mine. A week passed, and I was still sitting on the truth. The report from the private investigator burned a hole in my drawer, and my conscience burned even hotter. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat without thinking about Mark's smug, quiet face while handing over the kids. All this time, he was pretending. Acting like the wounded one. Playing the long game. I didn't tell him what I knew. Instead, I started watching, listening, and then something else happened. Lucas mentioned Miss Rachel during our weekend together. He said it so casually while drawing at the kitchen table. Daddy says Miss Rachel's dog is gonna have puppies. Can I have one, Mom? I tried to stay calm. I didn't flinch, didn't show anything on my face. Miss Rachel? I asked. He nodded. She makes banana muffins with us sometimes. And she lets me use her iPad when Daddy's grading papers. That was it. That was all I needed. Rachel wasn't just a fling. She was around my kids. In Mark's life, our life. I wanted to scream. But instead, I smiled, nodded, and offered him another crayon. That night, after the kids went to bed, I called Mark. He picked up on the third ring. "Everything okay?" he asked, all fake concern. "I know about Rachel," I said quietly. "I know everything." There was silence on the line. A long one. Then he said, "So what?" I was stunned. "So what?" "You've been lying too. You took the kids from me, made me feel like I ruined everything, and all this time, you were cheating too." He sighed. "The difference is, I didn't get caught." I stared at my phone like I was looking at a stranger. He went on. "You did this first, Anna. I found out, and yeah, I took control. You're mad I played the game better than you? Grow up." My hands were shaking. Then he added something that made my blood run cold. "You want to blow this up again? Fine. But if you go after me, I'll fight for full custody. I'll tell the court about your affair. I have all the texts saved. I'll paint you as unstable. You'll never see the kids without supervision." He hung up before I could respond. I sat there for 10 minutes, not moving. Not even breathing right. This wasn't just about pain anymore. This was war. And then, another twist came. But this time, it wasn't about Mark. A week later, I got a message from Daniel. Yes, that Daniel, the one I had the affair with. He hadn't contacted me in months, not since I ended it after the fallout with Mark. His message was short. "We need to talk." I think Mark reached out to my wife. My heart sank. I called him immediately. Turns out, Mark had tracked down Daniel's wife through Facebook and sent her screenshots, photos, timestamps, everything. He blew up their marriage after all this time. Daniel's wife left him and took their kids. He said if I ever spoke to you again, he'd leak more stuff to my company, Daniel told me. "He's trying to ruin me, Anna." Mark had started a campaign, quiet, private, and calculated. He wanted to burn down every life connected to mine, even if it meant innocent people getting caught in the crossfire. And the worst part? He was good at it. Now I wasn't just trying to hold on to my kids or clean up my own mess. I was done being afraid. Mark had crossed a line I didn't even think he was capable of. It wasn't just about me anymore. He had destroyed Daniel's family, dragged our kids into this twisted mess, and now he was threatening me with court and lies. The man I once married, the father of my children, had become a cold, strategic stranger. I called my lawyer. I explained everything: the threats, the surveillance, the double standards, the emotional manipulation. She listened quietly, then said something that stuck with me. "If this goes to court, he's not going to come out of it clean. You've made mistakes, yes, but what he's done, it's something judges don't look kindly on, especially when it involves the kids." So I made a plan. That Sunday, when it was my turn to return Mia and Lucas, I asked Mark to meet me at the community center near his house instead of his parents. Neutral ground. I told him the kids wanted to say goodbye after their art class, which wasn't a total lie. He showed up with Rachel. That was my cue. I had asked Daniel to come too, not for backup, but because he deserved a piece of this. My lawyer was also there, watching from the side. And I had printed out everything: his hotel stays, screenshots, timelines, even witness statements from the PI. It was all in a folder. When I handed Mark the envelope, he laughed. "Really, Anna? This desperate?" "Read it," I said. He flipped through the pages slowly. Rachel leaned over his shoulder, but I noticed her body stiffen as she read. "Wait," she said, then louder, "you told me you weren't married anymore." Mark's face twitched. "You said she abandoned the family," Rachel hissed. "You told me she left you." "I didn't. You lied to me." People were starting to stare. A couple sitting near the window looked over. An older woman sitting with her granddaughter whispered something and shook her head. "Mark," I said quietly, "you've been playing everyone. You lied to Rachel, to me, to the kids. You knew about the affair for months and used it. You're not the victim. You're just better at lying." He looked around, aware now that this wasn't going to be quiet. His voice dropped. "You think this changes anything? It changes everything, I replied. I'm filing for shared custody. And I have legal support this time. You don't get to use my mistakes to control me. Rachel was backing away from him, slowly, then turned and left. I didn't stop her. Daniel stood behind me, not saying a word, but watching Mark like he wanted to say something, anything. But he didn't. Maybe because he knew this wasn't his moment. Mark stared at me for a long time. Then he said, "You really think anyone's going to feel bad for you?" "I don't want anyone's pity," I said. "Just the truth." And I walked away. The fallout was ugly. He tried, at first, to keep up his story. But Rachel didn't come back. She spoke to his principal. There were rumors he might be asked to resign. He didn't, but his image took a hit. Parents started whispering. Some students even caught wind of it. We went to mediation for the custody case. The court didn't grant me full custody, but they did revise our agreement. I got 50-50 time. The judge noted the questionable emotional manipulation tactics and cautioned Mark sternly in court. It was a small win, but it felt like a mountain. Mia started to warm up. Lucas stopped asking if Daddy was mad at me. That hurt more than anything else, realizing they'd been made to think I was the monster and Mark the hero. I don't paint myself as innocent. I hurt people. I made selfish choices. But what Mark did, using my guilt to justify his own lies, breaking down others to keep control, that was something deeper and darker. Daniel eventually moved away. I don't blame him. We don't talk anymore. Rachel sent me a message once. Just one line. "Thanks for showing me who he really was." Now, the house feels different. Still quiet, but not hollow. The guilt never fully leaves. Neither does the shame. But there's also a strange sense of clarity now. Like I finally stopped living in a version of my life that someone else scripted for me. The kids laugh more. We talk openly. We're rebuilding. Not just what was lost, but something better. More honest. Some scars don't fade, but they don't have to define you. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe love again. Maybe not. But I'm no longer afraid of the truth. That's something.